what made you choose UAE as the IRENA HQ as headquarters?
Well, sure. It was actually not chosen by us.
Okay.
So there is a competitive bidding process, much like you would have for the Olympics, when the Olympics are looking for a host city, or for when EXPO 2020 was looking for a host city. There's a competitive process amongst many countries, and the countries all submit bids, and then a sort of collective group of countries then vote, and they choose the host of that next. In our case, it was the host of the headquarters.
Okay, and what?
Just one more step. So the bid that Abu Dhabi and the UAE put together was wide-ranging and very attractive, and had lots of innovative programs, and I think they really impressed the global community, and that's why they won the bid.
What exactly was attractive about the bid that Abu Dhabi put forward? Are there any specifics?
Well, there was obviously as in any case, there was decent funding behind it, so there was support. But there was also some innovative partnerships involved. So we're actually doing a project to advance renewable energy in developing countries with the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development, and so I think people saw that as attractive. They are building us a new headquarters building, which we'll be moving into in early 2015. And they, I think the sort of they caught people's attention because here you have an oil-producing country, an oil-producing emirate, and not really an energy leader, looking to locate a renewable energy agency in an oil-producing part of the world. And I think that sort of captured the attention and the imagination of the voting countries.
Okay. What projects are you already undertaking in the UAE?
Well, in the UAE, so just to be clear, we don't necessarily build projects. We don't sell things. We don't, that's not our thing. Okay. So what we do is we try to help build up a knowledge base and a knowledge framework that countries can help utilize that to advance their own renewable energy goals. So one of the projects that we are working on here is called Remap 2030. And Remap 2030 basically is charting a roadmap to double the global share of renewable energy by 2030. And the UAE has just come out, or will come out in the coming weeks, with a paper that we did with them that looks at how the UAE can scale up their renewable energy. And so that is one of the things. Another one of the big projects that we have done here in the UAE is a global or a renewable energy resource map, which is this really neat. I don't know if you're familiar with GIS, but GIS is like a graphic imaging system. Yeah, you know what it is. And so basically what it does is it allows you, through a series of digital maps, to see how strong solar and wind resources are in any part of the country. And so we worked closely with the Masdar Institute to develop that.
Can I? Is there any way I can get access to this map?
Sure. Yeah, it's Global Atlas. .irena.org. Yeah.
Globalatlas.irena.org.
Yep. You might have to get to a couple clicks, but you'll find it that way. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. And how do you plan to make Expo 2020 sustainable? Because you know how UAE is gonna host Expo 2020, right? And they've said this is gonna be very energy conservative. The Expo. Yeah. So what exactly is going to happen?
Yeah, so that is a good question. We have been engaged with the Expo people at a sort of preliminary level. I think that question is probably more suited for for the event organizers at this point. But I would suggest that there are opportunities for in terms of energy for off-grid renewables. So if they can set up temporary solar installations to power a lot of this increased demand that will happen. But also we're seeing in Dubai that Dubai is actually scaling up renewable energy significantly. So in the coming years, the Emirate of Dubai will already be bringing on a substantial amount of new solar capacity. So that will then make the energy mix a little greener and more sustainable.
Okay.
And so that is two ways. You'd have sort of localized, temporary, off-grid, we'll call it, and then you would have more sort of permanent, installed new capacity. That's just off the top of my head. We will be actually engaging with the EXPO people more in the coming years to see what specifically how we can help and make this a more sustainable EXPO.
Okay. And other than solar energy, is there any other renewable resource that the UAE can utilize?
Yeah. So there are some decent wind resources. They're not fantastic, but there's decent wind in further inland and near the higher mountainous areas.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that generally it's far from the grid, so you really need to source. You need to have these. You're better off having renewable energy production areas closer to the grid.
Yeah.
It's much cheaper, right? So wind is one. I would also say that there are some innovative biofuel opportunities, and I know that Masdar Institute is working on some biofuel opportunities. And then the sort of less, not really considered one of the core renewable energies, but there's also waste to energy, and so that is essentially incinerating or burning garbage to create heat, much like you would use with
natural gas and
coal, let's say, or natural gas, right? That's not considered generally one of the core renewables, but still, that's if done cleanly and efficiently with little effluent waste and emissions, it actually is a fairly sustainable solution.
Okay, and what are the future goals that the IRENA has set for themselves?
So, in the near term, we will be more heavily engaging in the sort of run up to trying to achieve a global agreement on climate. There is we're not involved in the negotiating framework, but 2015 is looking to be a big year in the international community in terms of climate. I would also suggest that we are actively involved with scaling up renewables on islands, because island countries around the world are really seeing that renewables are the cheapest source of energy, new power production than anything else.
Yeah.
So our job is to help them understand their resources, help attract financing so they can begin to pay for these projects, and spread the word for energy on islands. And I would say one other substantial goal we have, there's a project that we're working on called the Africa Clean Energy Corridor. And the idea behind this is to, help create a backbone of grids and renewable energy hotspots from Cairo to the Cape, and basically link all of these together into a single unified grid that would really create much more opportunities for renewable energy in all of these different countries, right? So Africa is at a point now where it's seeing tremendous economic growth. And if they go the route of coal, then we are going to be locked into a situation where we will see, further health and climate impacts. Whereas if they can lock into a future of clean and sustainable energy, wind, solar, geothermal, sustainable biomass, that they can actually pave the way to low carbon economic growth while creating jobs and without necessarily having a detrimental impact on the environment. So we're working on that, and that's a substantial undertaking. We won't be building it. We need the countries really to really take it on themselves and get behind it. And then we have lots of buy-in from the countries themselves, but it's still at its early stages. But we see this as a truly transformational opportunity.
Okay. Do you have any projects in the Mediterranean area?
Do we have any projects in the Mediterranean area? We were recently in Cyprus for an event similar to the islands thing that I was discussing with you. There's also opportunity for renewables and tourism. So we held an event there with the government of Cyprus to help promote renewables amongst hotels. And that's one sort of thing that we did there. There's really an awesome opportunity in North Africa. There's really tremendous solar and wind potential. And so we're continuing to work very closely with the governments in around the Mediterranean to help them scale up, whether it's in capacity building efforts or it's in we do renewables readiness assessments for countries to help them realize their own potential. So I would say that at this point, that's our involvement with Mediterranean.
And anything about the areas near the Indian Ocean, subcontinent, other Gulf countries? Yeah.
So India is an interesting case because India is seeing, much like China, much like Africa to a lesser degree, but India is much further along in the development curve. But they suffer from issue of brownouts and blackouts and power shortages. So there's a real demand shortfall. So India is looking to invest a tremendous amount of money in renewables in the coming future. And so we are eager to see that come online. I think it's a very hopeful situation, I think, in India. Indian Ocean, I think we're seeing, we work in just like the islands example I gave you in the Pacific. There's also Seychelles and Maldives have also really begun to understand the potential and the transformational potential of renewables, thanks in part to some of our work helping these parts of the world seize funding opportunities and understand costs.